Prepare yourself for a journey into the unknown, where fear takes shape in the shadows and silence is broken by whispers coming from all sides. On January 15, 2023, the police in Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico, received a call from a 70-year-old man. Nervous, he managed to report that his partner's ex-boyfriend had broken into his home and committed a terrible crime. The patrol went to number 2378 of Rio San Fernando Avenue, in the Gonzales Ortega police station. The man who received them was the one who had made the call and, despite being devastated by the death of his partner, there was something suspicious. His pants were stained with blood. Inside the house, the police found the body of the victim, a young woman of only 25 years old. What happened that night? What led to this tragedy? Will justice be done? Immerse yourself with me in this mysterious and engaging episode and explore the depths of the human mind in search of answers. Unravel the dark secrets that surround this tragedy and discover the truth behind the crime that shocked Mexicali. Hello everyone, welcome to the True Crime Files Investigations channel. If you are a lover of real criminal stories, get ready for an exciting marathon. Every week, we will explore shocking and remarkable cases, the most complex and intriguing ones, with an in-depth analysis of the details and motivations behind each event, which leads us to question human nature. Subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and ensure you're always up to date with our exclusive content. Leave your like to strengthen our community and motivate me to bring more and more impactful and unprecedented stories. Get ready to discover the backstage of the crime world, learn about the failures of the judicial system and the stories of victims fighting for justice. Welcome to an investigative and emotional journey. I count on you on this journey. The truth is about to be revealed. So, fasten your seatbelts, because the investigation begins now. On July 4, 1998, Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico, witnessed the birth of Daryela Elizabeth Valdez Rocha. Her mother, Elvira Rocha, was already a mother to Isaac and Josephat from a previous relationship. Daryela's father remains an enigma, shrouded in mystery. His absence in the girl's life raises several questions, and information about him is scarce. Shortly after Daryela's birth, Elvira found new love, a man who would become the father figure for Daryela and her siblings. The girl's childhood passed with apparent normality, in a home where love and unity overcame financial difficulties. Elvira, with her work as a domestic worker, ensured that the family's livelihood was never lacking. Daryela blossomed into a cheerful, charismatic young woman loved by all. Her responsibility was remarkable, and at 17, she started working alongside her mother, demonstrating her desire to be independent and pay for her university studies. After completing high school, Daryela combined cleaning houses with a law degree at the University of Baja California. Over time, she built a loyal clientele and established her own business. Despite the intense routine, Daryela dedicated herself to her studies with zeal. However, an unsatisfactory result on an exam deeply frustrated her. In her spare time, she sought relaxation at the gym and in the company of friends. Everything indicated that Daryela would become a successful lawyer, but fate had other plans. A new chapter in her life began with the arrival of Honorio Gonzalez Garcia. A 70-year-old man, originally from Michoacan, Honorio came from a wealthy family with roots in the United States. Divorced and the father of 6 adult daughters, he was known for his work ethic and for being a loving man. Daryela, while working as a domestic worker in his home, saw in him a kind and captivating man. The attraction between the two was inevitable, and they soon began a romance. The age difference between Daryela and Honorio generated controversy in both families. However, the love that united them was stronger than any obstacle. The first months of the relationship were pure happiness, but Honorio's mask soon fell. Morbid jealousy and possessiveness marked the new phase of the relationship. The violence, previously psychological, escalated to physical aggression, with neighbors witnessing the horror scenes. Daryela, out of fear or shame, hid the bruises and refused to end the relationship. Elvira, upon discovering the truth, tried to warn her daughter about the danger she was in. After much insistence, Daryela finally grew tired of the abuse and ended the relationship. However, Honorio, an experienced manipulator, convinced her to give him another chance. This cycle of breakups and reconciliations repeated itself for years, with Daryela living in hell inside Honorio's house. At the end of 2021, at the age of 23, Daryela made the decision to break the cycle of violence and return to her family's home. At Fazenda Cecilia, in the San Felipe neighborhood, she sought peace to restart her studies and rebuild her life. However, tranquility did not last. Honorio, dissatisfied with the breakup, began a campaign of persecution, harassing her at work and terrorizing her with threats. Fear and insecurity took hold of Daryela. She shared her situation with friends and family, seeking support to protect herself from Honorio. On March 19, 2022, Daryela went out with friends to have fun. In the early morning, upon returning home, Honorio crossed her path, marking the beginning of a tragedy that would shake everyone's lives forever. Daryela accepted the ride, following Honorio in his car, while her friends accompanied them in another vehicle. The trip went without incident until Daryela, while passing through a still green traffic light, went ahead, while her friends were held back by the change of signal. Inattentive, Daryela continued driving to her house. Inside the car, Honorio contacted a friend, revealing his intentions. The young woman, taking advantage of a moment of distraction, tried to call the police, but the call was interrupted by the lack of information about the exact location of the moving vehicle. Upon arriving at Honorio's house, he, consumed by jealousy, assaulted Daryela, throwing her violently down the stairs and pressing a sharp object against her neck. Terrified, Daryela managed to contact her brothers and friends, who, once again, called the police. This time, the officers went to Honorio's house, but he convinced them that everything was under control, dispensing with the need for any intervention. The police, without questioning, left the scene, allowing Honorio to continue his aggressions. The next day, he allowed Daryela to return home, where her family noticed the bruises and injuries. Elvira, inconsolable, encouraged her daughter to report Honorio to the police, but Daryela, fearing reprisals, preferred to remain silent. The aggressions became increasingly frequent and violent. Honorio, in his morbid obsession, even broke into Daryela's house in Fazenda Santa Cecilia, demonstrating that he would spare no effort to have her back. In mid-June 2022, during Daryela's shift in a store, Honorio appeared and, in front of everyone, threatened to kill her if she did not resume the relationship. Given the seriousness of the situation, Daryela decided to seek police help, filing 2 complaints against Honorio for violence and threats. In her statements, she described Honorio's obsessive and aggressive behavior, who constantly stalked her, assaulted her, and sexually harassed her, in addition to having problems with alcoholism. Fearing for her life, Daryela pleaded for protection, but the police did not give her the necessary attention. Faced with the inertia of the authorities, Daryela changed her routine, changing her phone number, abandoning college, and avoiding the places she used to frequent. However, her attempts to hide were in vain, as Honorio always found her. On July 2, 2022, while Daryela was working in a store, 2 armed men broke into the place and shot 2 customers, leaving them seriously injured. The criminals stated that the attack was a warning from Honorio and ordered Daryela to leave through the emergency door to meet him. Faced with the young woman's refusal, they let her go, promising to return soon. On the same day, Daryela filed new complaints against Honorio, this time for threats with a firearm and domestic violence. She expressed her fear of dying and described the attack as proof that her life was in danger. The public prosecutor's office then granted partial police protection to Daryela's home for 30 days, recommending that she not leave the premises. Daryela, cornered, saw her life turn into a nightmare. At the end of 2022, Daryela managed to partially resume her routine and finally graduated from college. Her friends and family believed that, with Honorio away, she would be safe. However, something terrible was about to happen. On January 15, 2023, the Mexicali police received an urgent call. On the other end of the line, a male voice, elderly and nervous, was crying out for help. What could have happened? On January 15, 2023, an emergency call echoed in the Mexicali police headquarters. A man, with a choked and nervous voice, reported a heinous crime that had occurred in his residence. His girlfriend, Daryela, had been brutally murdered. The tragedy was unfolding on Rio San Fernando Avenue, number 2378, in the Gonzales Ortega police station. Honorio, the perpetrator of the call himself, awaited the arrival of the police officers at the door of the house. Upon entering the residence, the agents were confronted with the gruesome scene. The body of Daryela, a 25-year-old young woman, lay lifeless on the floor. The violence of the crime was evident. 35 stab wounds embedded in her neck, face and hands, indicating an attack of fury with a sharp weapon. The bloody knife, found at the scene, was promptly collected as crucial evidence, awaiting DNA analysis that could reveal the identity of the murderer. Suspicion fell on Honorio, the man who made the call. His clothes, stained with blood, and his history of violence against Daryela placed him at the center of the investigation. In his testimony, Honorio tried to construct a fanciful narrative, claiming that an ex-boyfriend of Daryela had broken into the house and attacked her with a knife. His version, however, was full of contradictions and inconsistent details, which aroused the suspicion of the police officers. The neighbors, witnesses to the troubled relationship between Daryela and Honorio, reported that the young woman was constantly the victim of mistreatment. Shouts and arguments were frequent in the couple's house, and Honorio's violence was notorious in the neighborhood. The version of Daryela's ex-boyfriend, presented by Honorio, was promptly dismissed by the neighbors, who did not see any stranger enter the house. The security cameras, strategically positioned, also did not record the presence of any intruder. Faced with the evidence and testimonies, the police arrested Honorio, formally accusing him of the femicide of Daryela. The news of the tragedy spread quickly through the city, reaching the ears of Elvira, the victim's mother. In shock, Elvira went to Honorio's house, but was prevented from entering by the police officers, who cited protocol issues. The mother's pain, who was crying out for justice, was ignored by the authorities. Daryela's family, outraged by Honorio's impunity, gave testimony to the police, recounting the history of violence and abuse that the young woman suffered during her relationship with the murderer. The aggressions, the threats and the constant fear were part of Daryela's routine. The attack at the workplace, orchestrated by Honorio, was another chapter in the escalation of violence that culminated in the tragedy. The report from the Legal Medical Institute confirmed the brutality of the crime: 35 stab wounds and a scratch on the head, probably the result of a fall during the struggle. The 9 wounds on Daryela's hands indicated that she tried to defend herself from the brutal attack. Despite the extreme violence, the toxicological examination did not reveal the presence of any illicit substance in the young woman's body. On January 18, 2023, Daryela's family gathered for the last farewell at the Anjo Cemetery in Mexicali. During the funeral, the band played the young woman's favorite songs, while friends and family mourned her premature departure. Honorio, meanwhile, awaited trial, accused of femicide, the first crime of this nature to occur in Mexicali that year. The investigation of the case, however, took an unexpected turn. The Attorney General of Baja California, Ricardo Ivan Carpio Sanchez, confirmed that Daryela had already denounced Honorio for threats and domestic violence months before the crime. Despite the complaints and the period of police surveillance at Daryela's house, the case was archived under the allegation that the young woman had resumed the relationship with the aggressor. The allegation that Daryela and Honorio were together on the day of the crime, holding hands and showing affection, caused outrage in the population. The note issued by the prosecutor caused great indignation in society, raising questions about the actions of the police and the justice system in Daryela's case. Daryela's family, since the beginning of the investigation, fought tirelessly for justice to be done. In several interviews with the media, they reiterated that Daryela had never reconciled with Honorio and that any contact between them was motivated by the fear she felt. Despite the commotion generated by the case, Honorio's trial dragged on for months, with several striking events. Honorio's defense, seeking to mitigate his sentence, claimed that the defendant suffered from health problems due to his advanced age, requesting house arrest. The request, however, was denied by Judge Erica Reyes, who, after analyzing medical reports, concluded that Honorio did not present any condition that prevented him from remaining in prison. The judge also stressed that Honorio's house was the scene of the crime, which made it impossible to serve the sentence in his residence. While awaiting trial, Honorio remained confined in the Social Rehabilitation Center. On May 2, 2023, the judge met with Daryela's family, who expressed their concern for the safety, both physical and psychological, of its members. They reported having received threats from Honorio and felt unprotected. The situation took a new turn when Congressman Michel Sanchez Allende, in a press conference, changed his speech regarding the case. The congressman requested the President of the Superior Court of Justice and of the Council of the Judiciary of Baja California, as well as the state's Attorney General, that the investigation and the process be treated with a gender perspective. He emphasized that Honorio's history of threats and attacks against Daryela was extensive and culminated in the femicide. Given the repercussion of the case, the authorities pledged to provide protection to Daryela's family, ensuring their physical and psychological integrity. Despite the commotion in society, a group of people mobilized in defense of Honorio. In December 2023, almost a year after the crime, Honorio's family and daughters gave a press conference to express their support for the defendant. On the occasion, the defense attorney, Gustavo Antonio Perez, described Honorio as a hard-working and loving man who would never demonstrate any violent behavior. Honorio's daughters also stated that he always took care of them and their 6 sisters with great affection, and that his relationship with Daryela was equally affectionate. The defense took the opportunity to deny the accusations of threats against the victim's family, ensuring that their only interest was for the process to follow its legal course. The lawyer also stressed that Honorio had not been convicted and, therefore, enjoyed the right to the presumption of innocence. Marita Perez, another lawyer for Honorio, announced that a forensic investigation conducted by experts would be presented, which, according to her, would clarify the moment of the facts and corroborate the defendant's version, which pointed to the presence of a third person at the crime scene. The press conference ended with an appeal for society to hear the version of Honorio's daughters, in addition to what was being disseminated on social media. The defense sought, at all costs, to spread the idea that another man had murdered Daryela and that Honorio was an elderly man with a good heart. The defense's strategy, however, did not convince everyone. In January 2024, Honorio's lawyers claimed that they did not have the financial resources to carry out the private forensic examination, requesting a new deadline. The hearing, scheduled for January 10th, was again postponed, as the judge responsible for the case claimed that one of the defendant's lawyers was his former enemy, which prevented him from conducting the process impartially. The judge also mentioned that this could be a tactic of the defense to delay the trial. 2 years had already passed since Honorio's arrest, and the law stipulated that he could not remain in pre-trial detention for more than 2 years. On January 18th, a hearing was held in which the defendant's lawyers requested that Honorio be transferred from the El Cerezo prison in Mexicali to house arrest. They claimed that the elderly man had several health problems, such as angina pectoris and severe depression, as well as difficulty sleeping in prison due to shortness of breath. Despite the claim that his oxygenation was normal, Honorio presented interviews with 5 neighbors, who stated that he had resided in Mexicali for more than 40 years and had no intention of fleeing. However, after the presentation of evidence by the victim's family, such as the history of domestic violence and the constant threats, the judge determined that Honorio remain in pretrial detention. The defense then filed an appeal for protection. On February 7th, Isaac, Daryela's brother, appeared at the public prosecutor's office to report that one of the defense lawyers had revealed that Honorio had influential contacts, which could harm the victim's family. Isaac reported having been threatened with having his house set on fire with his family inside. In March 2024, Daryela's relatives met with representatives of the State Human Rights Commission, who pledged to investigate the case and investigate why Daryela's complaints were not properly investigated. In April, an intermediate event was held in room number C of the Rio Nuevo Justice Center, where an agreement was established between the prosecution and the defense for the opening of the oral trial of the femicide case. However, before the start of the trial, the federal judge needed to analyze the appeal filed by Honorio's defense. In an interview, Elvira expressed her concern about the possibility that Honorio's lawyer would again request house arrest for the defendant. She expressed her indignation at the possibility that Honorio, even imprisoned, would enjoy privileges, while her daughter did not have the opportunity to receive justice. Elvira also questioned who would guarantee Honorio's surveillance during the serving of his sentence in his home, fearing that he could use his influence to harm her family. Regarding the police, Elvira expressed her disappointment, stating that the corporation was not able to protect her daughter, despite the numerous complaints against Honorio. She also expressed her lack of faith that the authorities would take care of her family. Shortly thereafter, the State Human Rights Commission issued a series of recommendations to the Municipal Council of Mexicali and the Municipal Public Security Directorate for the way Daryela's case was conducted. The commission recommended that the municipality publicly acknowledge its responsibility for the femicide and apologize to society. On October 16, 2024, the mayor of Mexicali reported that he had already established communication with the police's domestic violence unit and with the head of the Women's Institute to comply with the commission's recommendations. The mayor also apologized for not having met the needs of the case and stressed that the municipality must offer immediate and adequate attention to women, not only those who report, but also those who do not do so for fear. Isaac, in turn, told the media that it has been more than a year since his sister's femicide and that his family continues to seek justice. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your presence and support are essential for me to continue creating quality content. So, if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Your subscription and comments are fundamental for me to keep bringing quality content. Leave your opinion in the comments, always with respect for the victims, and together let's build an even better community. Thank you so much for following my work, and I'll see you in the next episode.